Good morning, everybody. I should say good morning. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska, so it's probably not morning where you are, but it's still morning where I am. So good morning. This is your paycheck is lying to, and I'm going to share my screen. And if someone, I would appreciate it if somebody could just give me a thumbs up and let me know, confirm that that's working. That would be great. Excellent. Yeah, this is your paycheck is lying to you, and what this really is about is the hidden math behind burnout, bottlenecks, and stalled growth. And regardless of your role, right? Whether you're a rainmaker, whether you're an agent, whether you're on the ops side, whether you're a coach, I'm assuming that you're here because you have some desire to scale up your income, probably by scaling up the business, but with some fundamental goal to scale up the income. And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next 25 minutes by providing a framework that might help you think differently about the way you spend your time. But before we get into that, I've got a question, and just throw your comments in chat, or if it's easier, come off of mute. I'm curious why you got started in real estate. Why real estate specifically, as opposed to any other industry that you could go into, insurance or selling watches or whatever it is. Why real estate? All right, more money, flexible schedule. Oh, my realtor invited me to it. I love that. Yeah, you were conned into it by somebody already in the business. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think for real estate, for most of us, is is about freedom and flexibility, right? And it's the freedom and flexibility to do what you want to do with your time and who you want to do it with. And regardless of whether that means van life and piling everybody in a VW microbus, or jet life and piling everybody in your Learjet and flying around the world, we believe that real estate provides the path to freedom and flexibility because we have the opportunity at some level to control our own income. Right? And while that's true, while the aspiration is true, I think the reality for many feels differently, right? We're up late, we're on the phone, we're grinding through contracts. And at some level, it's like the business kind of hits us in the face. And we wake up one day and we're making money and we're closing deals, but our income doesn't match our effort, and we know it, right? There's a disconnect between what we're doing and what we're making. And the good news is that there is a solution. And it's actually a pretty simple solution. But it's simple, but not easy, right? And the simple solution is that we have to spend more time thinking like a CEO, right? We have to spend more time thinking about how we use our most valuable resource, which is the time. And we're going to go through an exercise to help you do that at an even higher level in a minute, right? But the question is, does this exercise work? Like, this may be new. Well, I've not met most of you on the screen, right? So you don't know me, and you're probably asking, show me, show me, show me. I don't buy it, right? And the best example of this change in thinking is a coaching client who's become a friend of mine, Michael Manuel. And Michael and I've been working together for a number of years, right? Since 2020, in fact, early 2020. And in 2020, by all measures, Michael built a pretty successful business. By the end of that year, Michael, with an assistant, with an EA, had closed 62 units. He had a nice book of business in central Mississippi. But the problem was he was working 50, 60 hours a week or more. He had little time for friends, for family, for vacation. He had two young kids. And he needed to think about the way he was doing things in a new way. And he began this kind of think like a CEO journey. And in 2021, right after this change in thinking, Michael closed 38 units. I'm just going to let that sink in. He went from 62, excuse me, to 38 in the course of a year. And on the surface, you might say that's absolutely does not look like success. But the reality is he was laying the foundation for explosive growth to follow. In 2024, Michael and his now six-person team closed 104 units. They're on pace for 140 to 150 this year, and really they're just getting started. Michael took about 6.5, 7 weeks of vacation last year. He started an expansion location. He launched a property management company. And now he's seeing the fruits of his efforts, right? And then the paycheck is matching it, right? And this is this idea of doing all you can until you can't do more and then figuring out how to scale is really summed up on page 158 in the MREA when Gary says very quickly, or very explicitly, you do all you can do, right? You go as far as you can go, you get all the results that you can get. And when you can't go any further, you look for help. And that's what CEO thinking is all about. Again, you don't know me, but just quick introduction. My name is Philip Alderfer. I'm a senior mastery coach here at KW MAPS Coaching. I've been with MAPS since 2018. The teams and businesses that I coach average about 2,000 home sales a year, more in most years. I've been in real estate for 23 years. The team and I have sold 1,400 homes in my career. That's the website, Powered by Cloud. I've got a training and coaching platform, Powered by Cloud. And Pat was awarded 2024 Coach of the Year, which was a really nice thing. I have a coaching podcast called Coachable as well. And all of what you're going to hear today are tools that I use for myself, for my team, and for the clients that I coach. So again, I'm going to look to you to throw some comments in chat. I am just curious, when I say CEO thinking, how would you define what does that mean to you? How would you define thinking like an agent versus thinking like a CEO? And just throw your comments in chat or come off mute, whichever's easier. What's agent type thinking? Don't be shy. No right or wrong answer. What's CEO? Then let's ask a different question. What does CEO thinking mean? Okay. Hannah says an agent's less work. Agent is less work. CEO is more work. More power. Okay. Thank you for that. Who else? How would you define agent versus CEO? Sets the structure. I love that. Ginger says CEO sets the structure. Yeah. And I'd agree with both of those entirely. At the end of the day, the way I define or the way I think about agent versus CEO is like this. An agent is reactive, right? An agent does the work and an agent has a practice. And there are a lot of jobs, there are a lot of professions that run like a practice, right? A medical practice, a law practice, an architectural practice. Those are all practices. And in fact, those folks are all very highly compensated for the job because they've learned their trade, they learned that skill at a very, very high level, right? So they can make a lot of, they can be successful. They can make a lot of money, build a big business. But it requires staying in the doing mode, right? If the lawyer is not in court or not working on a case, they're not paid for their time. They're not being paid, right? They're not being compensated. If the architect isn't designing the house, there's no one else that's doing the work. And that person cannot simultaneously, it's very difficult anyway, if you run a practice-based business, it's very difficult to simultaneously do lots of things for lots of clients. As I'm sure you yourselves know, right? If you have 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 clients at one time, at some point you reach a saturation point. You can't go any farther. You can't go any faster. CEO thinking, though, is a little bit different in the sense that CEO thinking is proactive, not reactive, right? CEO thinking is about building the systems, and CEOs have and run and own businesses. So how do we take this logic, this idea of agent time or agent thinking versus CEO thinking, and apply it to your daily calendar? I think it looks like this. I think, first of all, we calculate the true value of your time. And then the second thing we do is we identify those tasks that we either need to stop or delegate or outsource or do differently, such that we can spend more of our time in our desired or target CEO hourly rate. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I want you to think about how much money you would like to make. And it's not about making, it's not about the specific number. Doesn't matter what your number is. Could be 100, could be 300, could be 500, could be a million. But think about your desired annual income, and then grab a calculator, grab your phone, grab a pen and paper if you're good at math, and divide that number by 1,840. And then someone give me a thumbs up when they've got that number. Take what you want to make per year and divide it by 1,840. And then give me a thumbs up. For example, if you wanted to make $184,000 a year, your number at the end of this would be 100. 184,000 divided by 1,840 would be 100. 100. Does everybody have their number? Does anybody have their number? Yep, got a thumbs up. Thank you, Marciana. All right. So now grab your calendar. Grab your calendar from last week, whether it's your paper calendar, Outlook, or Google on your phone, right? Grab your calendar, and on your notes, write down the things. I said top 5. What I mean is the things that you spent the most time doing last week. What are the 3 or 4 or 5 activities that you spent the most time doing last work week? And I say last week, I mean in work, right? So if you think about your 40-hour work week. Oh, by the way, I didn't explain this. I'm going to pause. The reason to think about 1,000, divide your target income by 1,840 is because that represents the number of work hours a year, assuming you take 6 weeks off. And when I say 6 weeks off, what I mean is between holidays and vacations, travel to mega camp, travel to family reunion, kids being sick, family being sick, whatever it is, I'm assuming you've got 46 hours of work available to you in a year. I also assume you're working full time, as in you're working 40 hours a week on your business. Most of us, sometimes we tend to work more, right? And you might work part-time, that's fine too. But if we take a 46 work week year and we work 40 hours a week each week, that's 1,840. So in order to earn $184,000 in 1,840 hours, we have to be doing $100 per hour work, right? So somebody give me a thumbs up or put into chat what some of your top hourly activities were last week. What did you spend the most time doing last week? In my world, for example, I would write down one-on-one coaching calls because that's what I spend a large portion of my week on. What are some of the activities that you spent most of your time doing in the last 7 days? And you could throw those in chat or come off mute. Accountability calls. Okay. Tell me more. Just throw into chat. When you say accountability call, what's an accountability call? Role play. Okay. Excellent. Who else? Who else has got, look at your list of the 3, 4, 5 activities you spent most of your time and discussion. Yeah. Okay. I love that. When you look at the way you spent your time last week, what are some of the activities that took the most time for you? What about showing homes, writing offers, going on property tour? Graham, I'm going to ask you if we were, and I don't know if you can come off mute for a second, if you were thinking about setting up someone for success, what would Gary say we might spend most of our time doing?
Working on prioritizing our 20%.
Okay. Prep planning. Okay. Organizing. Yeah, good.
Yeah, organizing, prep planning, using the platforms we have, leveraging the 20% items, and also obviously worrying about the 80%, but making sure that those are handled by people that are able to assist and support.
Yeah. Key activities. Yeah. Julie says transactional work, meetings, open house, showings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the fundamental, the CEO time shift then is to ask yourself, if I've got my target hourly rate, if you want to earn $300,000 a year, that target hourly rate, I know this just because I've done the math before, not because I did it in my head, is $163 an hour. The question to ask yourself then fundamentally is how many of those tasks on your list of what you did last week would you pay someone your target hourly rate to do yourself? Because if you wouldn't, pay someone in your business $163 an hour to do that work, the question to ask yourself is, why did I do it? Because if we want to scale up our income, this is the idea of our paycheck is lying. We feel busy, but we're not earning. We might not be taking home what we want to take home. Fundamentally, it's because too much of your time is spent doing the things that don't earn your target hourly rate, right? And if you really want to dig deeply into this, y'all are, overachievers. I know it. So if you really want to figure out what this looks like, you draw a line in the middle of the paper and you take your calendar for the last week or two and you write down on the left-hand side of the paper everything that you would pay someone else your target hourly rate to do. For example, you might pay someone $163 an hour to lead generate such that they identify new listings. You might pay someone $163 an hour to find and identify talent to bring onto your team. You might pay someone $163 an hour to train, supervise staff. You might pay someone $163 an hour to follow up with past clients or close deals. But you probably wouldn't pay someone $163 an hour to install yard signs or hang lock boxes or print flyers, right? And that's the shift that causes that shift in thinking is the first step that causes a change in action, right? And the more time you just ask yourself the question, would I pay someone what I want to earn per hour to do the job that I'm doing right now? The more often you'll find yourself doing the things that are required to take home what you want to take home. First of all, does that make sense? I'm just curious. Does that CEO time shift calculation make sense to those of you that are on the call? Throw comments in chat. Give me some feedback. What does that cause you to, first, does it make sense? And what does it cause you to think about your business or your activity? Is there anything when you looked at the list that you would not do or will not do moving forward? I know in my world, when I did this math for myself, one of the things that I pretty quickly realized would help me is just assistance on paperwork and assistance on transactions. This was the math that I did before I hired my first assistant, because I realized while I was really good with clients, I was good on the sales side, I was slow. I was not as efficient or as effective as I could be on the transactions. And I needed to find leverage. I wasn't in a position to hire an assistant full time, but I needed to find some help to make sure that I could stay in my 20%. Graham, as you said earlier, right? And build your machine. That's what build your machine is fundamentally about. The fast track course that we're launching next week is about identifying those areas in your business, not just in the way you spend your time, but all of the areas in your business where your production has hit a snag in some way because you're the bottleneck, right? And each week what we're going to do is go through one or two of these types of exercises such that you leave with an absolute playbook for scaling up your business wherever you are starting from, right? And that begins with, I'm just going to go fast here, that begins with mindset, a little more of what we talked about today, but then also casting a vision for yourself and for others, a compelling vision that people want to follow, creating structure, building a bench of talent, identifying and growing team culture, your own leadership skills, how you onboard new agents, how you track numbers, what scoreboards matter and how you track numbers, how you coach people, and finally what happens next when you achieve that CEO role, when you're at that CEO level, what how are you going to spend your time now, right? That's Build Your Machine, and that launches next week. I'm going to cancel the screen. I know, Graham, you just put the link in notes. I would love to hear from someone, one person, one thing that they took away from today. And I know it was fast, and I know it's kind of a shallow dive into a deeper topic. Slide deck. Graham, I'm going to go to you. Yeah. Are the slides part of the Zoom call? The slides will be part of the YouTube call?
The slides, yeah, they're visible in the recording, and then I'm going to send
Perfect.
the list of anybody that opted into being reached out to Philip, and then Philip, you're welcome since they're
But I can share it from.
your
Yeah.
beautiful creation. You can send them out to
Yeah.
those people.
Happy to.
Yeah.
Happy to share it. Yeah. Yeah, Julie says it's a great reminder. Haven't done it in a while. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you just hit on. Maybe one of the key components of that CEO thinking piece is that we do the exercise once, or we do it infrequently, and then we get distracted. We get sucked back into the day to day, right? Because the day to day in real estate is so compelling, right? It are maybe not compelling. It is easy to fall into reactive behavior because transactions require a lot of us. Yeah. Marciana asks, would 10 weeks be ideal for agents that are less than a year in the business? My answer is yes, absolutely. And here's why. The sooner you build the foundation for yourself of what scaling could look like, the better off you will be whenever you decide to scale. It may not be now, it may not be next week, it may not be next month, but you're going to leave Build Your Machine with a literal playbook on growing your business from wherever you are to wherever you want it to be, regardless of your starting point, right? So Build is designed to help people grow into whatever new vision they have for themselves or their businesses. So if you've already got a team in a business and you want to make it bigger or you want it to function better, Build Your Machine is perfect. If you're new in the business and have an idea of growth, you'd like to build something, Build Your Machine is right for you. If you're if you're on the operational side, if you're running a team, if you're running a business, but not in sales, and you have the responsibility to make sure things are working well, Build Your Machine is for you because it is about culture, vision, mindset, systems, scoreboard, all of the things that you will need. It's building your toolbox to help you go wherever you want to go. Thank you for asking. Yeah. Any other questions? We've gone 6 minutes past the hour, and I want to respect your time. Anything else I can do, Graham? Anything I didn't do that I should have?
No, I think you're good. I think, yeah, I think you covered it all. I mean, slides were great. Knocked out the class. Any other questions in the chat about the program or?
Yeah, Ginger says we need to know our value. It's 100% it. That's absolutely it. Ginger, thank you for making that comment. that is fundamentally the first step in thinking like a CEO. Yeah. You get to decide what your value is, and then you have the responsibility to hold yourself to it. So good.
I was gonna
All right,
add,
Graham.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
just gonna add on. There's a lot of good information on the landing page about like FAQs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if it's a good fit for you, so take a look.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Thanks, Graham, for organizing. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. And I look forward to helping you build your machine.